Hi, this is Mike with AskATractorMike.com. I don't talk a lot about the area that I live in, and I'm going to today because I live on pretty rough ground, and I'm going to show you some of the challenges I have out in my pasture, brush hogging, and some of the conditions I live in. And maybe you can relate. You know, most of us that are not farmers, that are kind of weekend hobby farmers, as the term goes, live on pretty rough ground. That's because the farmers got the good ground, they paid premium to get the ground that's productive that they can make a living off of, and the rest of the ground is a little cheaper, and that's what we have. I'm not complaining. I've lived in the Missouri Ozarks all my life. I love it here. Every time I've moved, I've acquired a little bit more property, which is nice, but it's been rougher. So where I live right now is hilly and rough. And just to kind of show you the situation I have, in some of my early videos I talked about the Big Rock Ranch, and that's our nickname for where we live. My wife and I came up with that. When we first moved here, we needed to put some drain tile in. There was a drainage issue that wouldn't take the water off the roof of the house away from the house. So we called a guy to come bury some drain tile, and he started digging a little trench to get the drain tile put in, and this is what he encountered. We didn't haul these rocks in for landscaping. This is what was here, and whoever built the house had blasted these rocks out of the ground. There's actually right here a tube where they had drilled with some kind of an auger, put the dynamite in and blasted these rocks out, and then built a house where the rocks came out. Well, we thought they were kind of cool, so we pulled them out of the ground and did a little landscaping around them, and thus the name, the Big Rock Ranch. We have big rocks here, and some of these are right below the surface, and if you wanted to plow or raise a garden or anything, this is what you're going to encounter. But today I want to show you some of the areas I brush hog, and just give you a few tips about if you're on really rough ground with a brush hog, how to handle it, how not to tear up your cutter or your tractor or turn yourself over. Let's go out to the pasture and I'll show you. It's really hard to show a slope in a video, but this one right here, which I just brush hogged, probably drops about 5 feet and about 20 feet. And about 20 feet this way, it drops 5 feet this way. And on the steepest part of it, right here, if I tried to mow it on the side slope like this, and there's a hole right here, as I came up and my front wheel hit that hole, I think I'd be okay, but I'm not going to risk it. And you can call me a wuss if you want to, and I probably am, but I'm alive. In this kind of slope, I back up and down. That's why I like a hydrostatic drive for brush hogging. It's hard on the hydro to change the flow of oil all the time, but it sure is easy on the operator. I'm probably going to pay for a hydro rebuild sometime in my future because this is real rough on a tractor, but I'll do that for the convenience. Right in back of me is a really steep incline down to a dry creek bed. And as you can tell, I have not brush hogged it. And you know what? I'm not going to. It's not worth it. These plants that are growing on it are blackberries. Raises great blackberries. And as long as I'm here, that's what it's going to do, because I'm afraid to go back there with a tractor. It's just not worth it to me. I might do fine, but I might get a wild ride, and I don't like wild rides. So that's where blackberries come from in the summer. Great blackberries. The moral to that story is if you're afraid to go there, maybe it's a great place to raise some blackberries or some wildflowers or some unique trees. Maybe you don't need to brush hog it. I really don't think I'm going to be able to show this too well, but I'm going to walk up this hill. There's a hump right in the middle of this field, a pretty good one. And I don't know whether you can see it or not. It was here when we moved here. I really need to have a bulldozer or earth mover of some kind come in and take this hump down. But what I think happened, I think there was a fence row that went up this hill at one point in time. And I think, like farmers do, and I've done all my life, whenever you encountered a rock, you threw it into the fence row just to get it out of the way. Well, one day somebody came in and took the fence row out, and so now we've got a pretty steep ridge. And I'm going to put the camera down. I don't know whether you can see it or not, but it's low on this side, comes up over a hump, and then it's over here. So what has likely happened is they put their rocks in the fence row, and there's been livestock on both sides of the fence row that have kind of flattened down the sides on both sides of the fence. So if I tried to brush hog over the top of this going this way, I would plow and likely damage my brush hog or my tractor. And so what I choose to do is brush hog with the hump. So when I'm going up the side of this, the brush hog is like this on the edge of it. So we're not digging in anywhere. And there's a pretty good, probably about a foot drop. And then right here, there is a heck of a hole right there. And a nice thorn tree growing in it. So whenever well, that's actually not a thorn tree, that is a, the other one I deal with, a plum tree, autumn olive. And so I've cut that up, but there's a hole right here. And so as long as I'm like this, I'm straddling all that. If I tried to mow this way, that would be a problem. So the point here, I have people ask me all the time, how big a brush hog can I get? Well, if you have 20 acres and you can afford it, you know, a 15-foot brush hog, and you make a few passes and you'd be done. But if I had a 15-foot brush hog, I don't exactly know how I would cut this. Places like this, if it was any longer than 6 feet wide, I'd probably dig in on one side or scalp the ground on the other side. So sometimes in a situation like this, having a smaller cutter makes a lot of sense. And I don't know whether you can see that or not, but when you've got a hump like that, don't ever plow with your brush hog. Follow the contours of the ground. Now, I want to show you guys real quickly what rocks look like in my area. And I think, yeah, there they are. These are 2 rocks that when I was mowing last year, I pulled out of the ground, and I had intended to move them and never did. And there they are. And that is what a Missouri Ozarks rock looks like. And you get one of these under your brush hog, and you think the world has come to an end. And that one was bigger until I hit it. And there's some pieces of it that are now not pieces of it. And if you keep on top of something like that, you'll eventually make it a smaller rock, but you'll also tear up your brush hog. And over here, I'll show you, there's still one in the ground right there, and it's not coming out of the ground. It's solid. So at some point I'll catch the edge of that on my brush hog, and it'll probably dig it out of the ground, and I hope it sets it out away from the cutter and not underneath. And some of these rocks, I really don't know how big they are, but that's bigger than most of them. The bottom one is, but it's not totally uncommon. So it is kind of a rough area to mow. When you're on rough ground like this, a couple of pieces of advice. Keep that roll bar up, keep your seat belt fastened, go slow. And I always like to keep my hand over on the PTO lever, so if I get on top of some kind of a big rock, or if I'm on uneven ground and I'm plowing with my cutter, I can turn it off, save my cutter and my tractor. I survive on web traffic. I'd be honored if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook page and share this video with other tractor enthusiasts. And if you have questions or comments, put them down below. I'll try to get back with you. Thanks for watching.